My name is Lisa Kimathi. I'm a senior associate in the research department at Standard Investment Bank. So we will analyze the performance of the NSE in the month of September and the third quarter of the year. In the quarter, we saw the market gain 3.2%, of course, compared against the second quarter. This was mainly driven by a double-digit gain in the month of July. So in July, we saw the market gain 13.3%. We saw a bit of a dip in August and September, but the strong gains in July were able to hold up and provide a positive return for the entire quarter. The NSE 20 was the best performing benchmark index for the quarter. It was up 6.5%. The price-weighted index actually exhibited a more stable performance throughout the quarter. We only saw a slight dip in the month of September, where it was down just 1.9%. On a month-on-month performance, the NSE was down 6.6% in the month of September. Well, as I mentioned earlier, the NSE 20 dipped only 1.9%. So, of course, the NSE's dip was driven mainly by a 10% drop in Safaricom, which is the largest traded counter and has a 50% market cap. The dip in the NSE was largely due to the extended political season in Kenya. We saw our general elections held in August extend to September due to petitions, therefore forcing investors to still hold back on investment decisions. We also saw global interest rates continue to hike in Europe and as well as in the US. And of course, subsequently, this affects investment decisions by foreign investors. Compared to other African markets, the NSE provided a USD return of 0.5% in the quarter, and this is despite being battered by the strengthening USD. During the quarter, we saw 4 stocks account for 84% of the trading activity, led by Safaricom, which accounted for 48% of turnover. The others are Equity Bank, KCB, and EABL. Within the month of September, we still saw the 4 counters traded significantly, but also we saw NCBA feature as the third top mover, and this was led by domestic investors. During the quarter, 7 out of the top 10 movers actually closed higher compared to the second quarter, and we actually saw only one of the top movers register a dip. Month on month, the performance of the top movers was generally balanced, some up, some lower at 50-50. But despite the gains we've seen in the quarter, most of the top movers are still trading lower year to date. Looking at the top gainers and losers, the top gainer for the quarter was Longhorn Kenya, which happened to be mostly speculative trading due to its low price, and the leading laggard was Sanlam Kenya. Looking at the month of September, the top gainer was Kenya Power, while the leading loser was TPS Serena. Kenya Power seems to have been driven by recent news of a top politician increasing his investment in the power sector counter, so we can still consider it mostly driven by speculative trading. So some of the things to watch out in the fourth quarter of the year. First, we've seen some of the price dips from September have extended to the first week of October. So we're still seeing some attractive entry opportunities for patient investors. So a good time to consider equity investments. The other thing we're expecting in the quarter, we expect a number of earnings announcements. First off, power sectors are expected to release their numbers by the end of the month, unless there's an unusual delay. The other one we expect to announce numbers is Safaricom. We should see their half-year numbers in the month of November, as well as banking stocks. Banking stocks will be releasing their that quarter financial performance, probably from around the month of November. Speaking of banks, of particular interest is the accounting on fair value losses, especially with how investments have been performing and current volatility. We wait to see how they'll perform on the realized and unrealized fair value losses, as well, of course, as investment income and things like loan provisioning as interest rates go up. In banking, KCB's acquisition of Trust Merchant Bank in DRC is expected to be completed in the fourth quarter of the year. Initially, the transaction was to be completed in the third quarter, but we saw some extension, of course, seeking approvals. Shareholders approved the transaction in the third quarter, so we should see it completed in the fourth quarter.